Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gilio, and this is our weekly video message. I have a special guest with me here before I get into all the questions, and I have a very important person. That's Miss Nancy Navarro, who is the very first person you'll see if you ever come to our new Guidance Student Services building, the GSS building, or what we also refer to as the main office. So Nancy, can you introduce yourself to folks who may not have met you before?
Hi, I'm Miss Nancy Navarro, and you can find me in the front desk. I am the concierge of Homestead High School, and I also am bilingual. So, hola, buenas tardes, or buenos días. Mi nombre es Miss Nancy Navarro y yo también estoy aquí en la oficina. Soy la primera persona que ven. So mucho gusto. Um, I The main reason why you might come by to see me is if you have any questions regarding, let's say, lost and found, or you misplaced something. We are doing locker assignments, so you would come to me as well for that, or any other general question. I'm basically your go-to person here in the office.
Excellent. So yeah, and our brand new building is set up in a way that you go through the main doors from the staff lot. If you park in our visitor spot, you open up the main doors, and there's Miss Navarro. So Nancy, is there anything that the parents or visitors should kind of know about in terms of the protocol for when they're coming into the office?
Yeah, so first off, we would appreciate if everyone does wear their mask at all times, especially when we're inside the office. We do have our guests and families line up at the door. Usually we have one person at a time. Just be patient while I get through everyone and help you out and see who you are supposed to see here in the office.
All right. And so what are some ways, if they're not popping in to come see you or somebody else, how might somebody get a hold of you or contact you?
So the best way is either call me. My direct line is 408-522-2551, or you can also email me if it's something that's not urgent. You can find our emails in the parent portal staff directory. And again, it's Nancy Navarro.
All right. And so you have a few other duties besides just being at the front desk and welcoming guests and make sure people get where they need to get going. Want to kind of tell the folks what else you do here on campus?
Yeah, so I actually support all our teachers. So if they ever are in need of any subs, I help assign that and help our subs, get situated with school and make sure that they are all set to help our kids out for the day or the week.
Great. So if you do find yourself on our campus and you're coming in the front door, please say hi to Miss Nancy here, and she'll be happy to help you get on your way. And I kind of show you a little bit of the new building. It's a really great building. And so we're really finally glad to be using it in the way we're supposed to be using it since everyone's here. But I just want to thank Nancy for taking a few minutes of her time to introduce yourself and to be our first guest star for our weekly video message. So again, thank you, Nancy. And I'm going to, in a minute here, go on to the rest of our presentation. So thank you a lot, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Hello, Homestead. Hope you enjoyed our interview with Nancy Navarro. I'm going to go on to our questions and shout outs and everything. Again, another big week where we had almost 40 submissions. So thank you again for that. And some of the questions were repeats. So I tried to summarize them as best I could and get them out there. But again, if I miss something, please submit it again and I will try and answer it better. But again, this is our weekly video message for August 27th, 2021. So looking at our first thing. So again, just a single page of shout outs today. First two are pretty much the same, but there were a couple that were just saying, love to shout out to the whole Homestead staff for trying your best to keep our kids healthy and safe in schools if they can reach their potential. Thank you for that. That's very nice to hear that. And then someone else wrote that everyone we've encountered at Homestead has been great. So thank you very much. And two good examples of that are Claire D., our department lead for the art department, and Harry Unsinger, who's a social studies teacher. And according to this person, they have always been very welcoming and love their teaching style. So thank you, Claire and Harry. Going to move into our questions and concerns now. One of the questions was, how many positive cases have there been at Homestead? Obviously, we had that email that went home this weekend. We have only had one at Homestead, and even one's too many, but we've only had one. Across the district in that first week, there were a total of 8. There were 7 students and 3 staff, again, spread out at different locations. So again, when we talk about one of the emails that went home talked about multiple cases, that's what they're referring to. While that's still a very low number, that is a little bit concerning for us in the first week to have that many. Because again, when you think about it, one of those cases it also, includes about another 150 to 200 students and staff, right? Because if depending on how many classes that student goes to over the course of the days and when they may have been considered contagious, how many people they come in contact to, those are the number of people that we have to contact, and that could possibly have to quarantine. And so that's why when you look at these numbers, so 8 doesn't sound like a huge number, but if you say there's another 150 to 200 people, well, that affects another almost 1,600 people. So again, that's a big concern. And so one of the reasons why the mask mandate came out to be expanded to be outside only, or not outside only, but outside as well. It used to be just inside only, but it's outside as well now. In the case of a positive test case, what happens is the school determines who is a close contact, meaning who was with that student or staff member for more than 15 minutes in close range or inside a classroom. And so we then compile a list, and then we send out emails to those folks and say, hey, we need to talk with you to kind of help figure out what next steps are. Because if you're a close contact, if you are vaccinated, you may not have to quarantine unless you're feeling some symptoms. But if you're unvaccinated, you will have to quarantine. You'll also have to test. And so it really is time consuming to call everybody and try and get everybody to where they need to be. That's one of the reasons why the district sent out that other email that you may have seen about asking folks to voluntarily say whether their students are vaccinated or not. That just helps cut down on the time it takes to communicate with who might be a close contact. So anyway, our first initial concern is, number one, the individual who is sick, making sure that they're okay, making sure that they're off campus. Number two then goes to the students and staff that student or staff member had been around. And we try to get a hold of them. Then once we've gotten through that, we will send out emails to the entire staff and to the entire community of families. So again, if you get that big all call email, you can take a bit of a sigh of relief because your child would have already been contacted, or you would have already been contacted if your child was a close contact. So just need you to be aware of that process. So again, we get a test, we get a positive case, we go around and figure out who's a close contact. We start to contact those close contacts. And then we contact everybody. And then you will get to see it on the dashboard on the website. So there is something called the COVID-19 case dashboard on our district website. If you click that little bar at the very top of the district webpage where it says COVID resources, you'll actually find a button that talks about that, and you can see the updates as they go. So that's another place for you to check for that information. When we talk about folks who have to get tested, we do provide testing. Like when this particular incident happened in Homestead, we called up our contact who we did all our testing with last year, set up some testing in the afternoon in the field house so folks could drop by and take care of that. There were also, if we find out there are other cases on other sites, that they then also get testing. So we do provide that, but you are welcome to go get your own test in case you want to know more quickly or you trust your doctor more or whatever. But again, that is available and it's free for those who may be a close contact with somebody. So that is a service that we're able to provide. There were a couple also concerns and questions about the crowding of hallways and can we do anything to fix some of the crowding hallways? And unfortunately, when you have nearly 2,300 students, you're going to find some spaces where it gets a little crowded. We were able to control that a whole lot better last year because we had fewer students with the hybrid and we were able to socially distance, and we were required to socially distance. So we were setting up, cones in the hallways, and there could be one direction only and one direction up the stairs and another down the stairs. This year, though, the county has not recommended and it says you don't need to worry about the distancing part of it as long as people are wearing masks. And so again, that's why our original mask mandate talked about wearing masks inside as well as to and from class, and now at all times. Again, we're concerned about the close contacts and then the crowding kind of thing. So we are trying to work with that. Part of that is kids they kind of go straight line and they try and go, what's the shortest route to get to this particular class? And so what sometimes with a little bit of planning or maybe taking an alternate entrance, you can get to where you need to be without as big a hassle. So again, kids are kind of figuring some of that out. So some of those lines are, crowdedness is coming down a little bit. There's also some problems with our construction. The construction takes a little bit of the quad space that narrows a couple of areas where kids walk through. It also takes the stairs at the A building, which used to be an area where people could go up, and that's one of the reasons why the B building is really seeing some issues. So we're really seeing some issues right around the A building and right around inside the B building. So if those are places where your student has to go, again, you might want to ask them and think about what are some alternate ways to get out or into the building. But yeah, we're definitely seeing some slowdowns, but that's a pretty normal thing. But again, we're trying to see if there are ways in which we can help alleviate some of that. Right now, it is getting better. So we're hoping that we don't have to do anything like institute one-way hallways, because that does get to be hard to watch and see. And kids will, again, they may not follow it, and it creates a traffic jam as well doing that. But we're trying to make sure that kids can get to their classes to and from safely. But again, that's why we ask that they wear their masks, and just think about what are some different ways to get to the hallways there, because that may be the answer right there. But yeah, we've seen some crowding, and we'll continue to monitor it as we go along. I answered this question a few other times, but I'm happy to answer it again. Is what changes has the district made for ventilation, and if most classrooms can open their windows and use HEPA filters to increase movement and flow? Oh, I know, actually going back for 1 second, I realized one of the things I forgot to mention in the crowded hallways was people were asking, well, can we extend, passing periods? Can we make them 10 minutes long? That's possible, but then that extends the day. We can't cut into the instructional minutes because that's the time that we need to use for the state to say that we've had kids in classes. So I'm not sure that people want to stay an extra 15, 20 minutes late to class, or on a Wednesday, that would be an extra hour late if you added 5 more minutes to every class, or not quite an hour, but almost an hour. So we can't really extend the passing period. So that's why we have to kind of work within the parameters that we're given. Back to this one, yeah, we've made a lot of changes to our HVAC system. The whole district has, and so again, it started with an audit of our entire system. We had some outside companies come through and say, these are the systems that are working well. These aren't working so great. This, you need to fix this. You need to fix that. And so we went through some of the adjustments we made on our own with our own technical staff folks. Some others we had to call some people in to help us with, but we made adjustments and improvements wherever they were noted and needed. The basic idea is that we were trying to open up our ventilation system so that they're pulling in as much fresh air as they possibly could, which does tax the system and makes it a little bit louder. So your kids might be talking about how hard it is to hear in class. It is a little bit harder with HVAC systems running like that, and also with people masked. So again, we're trying to work with kids speaking up, and maybe even some places we might need to get some microphones. We're talking about that, but the idea is that we're pulling in a max amount of fresh air. Every single unit on our campus and across the district has a MERV 13 filter, which is the top of the line for our particular type of units. We change them every 3 months. It is expensive, but it is worth it, and because they do get dirty, and we want to make sure they're not breaking down, and that our kids and staff are getting fresh air. What's great about these MERV 13s is that they filter bacteria and viruses, so that is a huge step for us. And so again, I'm feeling very comfortable and safe about our ventilation system. One other thing I should note about the ventilation system, again, because it's working so hard and we're pulling in so much outside air, and the fact that a lot of our classrooms have open doors and windows, because that's also helping bring in fresh air. The system is not able to cool the room as much as you'd like it to. So some of the rooms are getting a little bit warmer. So again, HVAC, the air conditioning part of the ventilation system is about comfort. The ventilation is about the safety. So we do understand that there's a few trade-offs. And so being a little bit warmer is definitely one of the trade-offs we're doing for being safe. But yes, our classrooms do have windows that open. They're not huge windows that open, but they can open. And we have doors. They can also prop open doors if they want to. And in some cases, you can put a box filter next to the door, or a box fan next to the door, and have that suck in some air. That does also get noisy. It sounds like it's kind of rinky-dink, but it actually, a study by John Hopkins said it's actually a really effective way to bring in more fresh air if you need it. But again, I think our rooms are doing pretty well with the HVAC systems and doors open, and again, kids in masks. There were a couple of questions about some teachers' policies regarding bathroom passes. And so, this is not a common practice at Homestead, although there are teachers that do use this, and teachers do get prerogative in terms of rules they want to set up in their class. One of them is about limiting the number of bathroom passes that a student can have. Let's make up a number, say it's 5, you can have 5 bathroom passes in the year. And most teachers tie that to some sort of an incentive. You get, an extra homework pass, or you don't get to use any homework passes if you go over, or so, different things like that. So the basic idea is to try and, keep students in class, and maybe in some cases teachers are feeling like there's a need to prevent the interruption or disruption of people coming in and out of class. But in the end, to be honest, the teachers can't, and they won't prevent a student from going to the bathroom. So let's say I have a rule that says you can only use 5 bathroom passes. Well, if you get to the 6th one, I can't say, well, tough luck, you can't go to the bathroom. I'm going to say, yeah, you can go ahead and go to the bathroom, but there may be, something that has to be a penalty because of that. Again, I don't think very many teachers do that, but again, if there's an issue that your student is having with this, please have a conversation with the teacher. And especially if there is a medical issue or a social emotional issue, that is something that we can definitely deal with. And sometimes we do give special passes to students who maybe have a medical issue, or maybe have an emotional issue where they say they're going to the bathroom, but they just need a break to get outside. So that's a little bit different than, the kid who decides I want to go to the bathroom at 11:05 every day because I don't like this class, right? That's a different kind of thing. And so the idea is not to penalize everybody, but it is also to try and build some regularity in there. So again, if there's some true issues with the class and with your student, and if your student has that particular type of regulation in their classroom, that's a good conversation to have with the teacher. I think this is becoming the famous and then the most popular one, but lunch lines are still too long and portions are too small. A lot of the questions and concerns that have been coming in. Lines are long, and they definitely are. We are serving, and we've been getting data now, between 500 and 780 students each day at either brunch or lunch. Now, brunch is just 15 minutes long. Again, going back to that time, we can't expand it. It is meant to be a grab and go kind of eat thing. And even if you're grabbing something right at the bell, you should be able to eat it by the time you walk to class, or finish it when you're standing outside of class. And teachers are trying to be lenient about that, knowing that, lines have been long. But I want you to kind of do the mental math on that. If we're serving, say, I'll take the average there, 600 and some odd students for a 15-minute brunch, yeah, it's going to take the whole time. But we're whipping kids through at a pretty quick rate. I mean, McDonald's can't even serve that many people in 15 minutes. That even though lunch is longer, lunch is 45 minutes, we're still getting about the same number of students, but we are serving them. What we've been noticing is that it takes about 15 to 20 minutes for folks to get through the lunch lines. But that still means you've got 25 to 30 minutes of lunch to eat it. So yeah, they're long. Yes, it's nobody likes to wait in line, but they go pretty quickly. And really, we don't really have any other space to add more registers, but we are using all of our registers. We do have a freestanding cart that is outside too, that has another 100 or so meals on it. Along with this, people are saying, well, they're waiting in line and there's not a lot of food. Well, the food portions themselves have not changed. There's the same regulations are in existence about the size and the amount and those kinds of things. So that has not changed. But what has changed is that before, a kid would buy a meal, but then they could add things onto it from the a la carte menu, or the salad bar we used to have available. But we can't do the salad bar because of COVID rules. We aren't able to add the a la carte items right now because, number one, we're having a lot of issues with vendors, but also there's a limited supply of things that we're allowed to offer. And again, probably the biggest issue, though, is this idea of we put in orders for food and vendors are not able to get us the food we would like or we need. So they kind of have to scramble and do some other things. But again, they all are fitting within the guidelines and they are the same portions. So again, what you might want to do is you might want to pack a snack or two with your student if they're going for the free student lunch. And that might help them through. They can go back in and buy a second meal, and they can purchase that. And as long as you have money on the account, they will go ahead and do that. So students can go through the line, and then again, if they're at lunch and they look and see there's nobody there, they can go back in and get more food. So it's not like we're limiting to that only, but they only are allowed to get one free meal per brunch or lunch. So they have 2 free meals a day. You go more than that, you're going to have to pay for it. Also, if you could just remember to remind your students, bringing their ID cards helps make this go faster. One trick that we've sort of learned is you can take a picture of your student ID and put the scanner will also read that. but it makes it go so much quicker. We don't have to punch numbers in, and so that's another way to help us get through. So again, yes, they're long, but we are getting through them, and we are making sure the kids are getting fed. We have not run out of food. We've run out of food at the cart a couple times because it's a limited amount of food that it can hold there. But again, we have not run out of food in the cafeteria any time. So if a kid comes to us at the end of the day and the bell and they're hungry, we will give them food. So we have been feeding kids past the bell too if they come to us. Question was, may you consider teens not sitting in buses together or field trips that are not necessary? Please consider minimizing risks, activities that are not necessary. And yes, that's definitely a conversation that we're having right now. When we started looking at school several months ago, these activities were being allowed. And so we have approved some field trips for the semester. I can't say that how many, it's only a couple, to be honest. But they are subject to cancellation. I mean, if rules change or things crop up that make it harder to do, we may actually cancel them. So there's an expectation that even though they've been approved, you may not necessarily get a chance to go on them. In regards to putting people on a bus, again, buses are a simple mathematical equation, right? You have 60 kids on a bus, you try to get 2 to a seat. You could go 1 to a seat. That gives you a little more distance, but then you're gonna have to order another bus, and that actually makes the field trip more expensive. So again, something to consider, but that is a reality that if we're going somewhere that requires a bus, it does raise the cost of the field trip. Now, most times field trips are optional, so you do have the right to choose whether to go or not. Now, again, there are other times where they're not optional, like if you are part of choir and choir is going somewhere to perform and that's part of your grade, then yeah, you're going to need to go on that field trip. But if there's some issues or some concerns, please bring them up with the teacher or the coach or the advisor. And definitely, have those questions and concerns. There are times where we've had parents drive kids places. That's another way to do it. That's another burden on parents, though, to depending on how far it is and what kind of time you have. So again, we're trying to look at some of those. Now there was a question that was listed in here too about I guess a video of one of our sports team on a bus singing without masks. We did see that. We have addressed that and are dealing with it. So that was definitely not something we wanted to see. And so we have definitely corrected that situation, and that should not be seen again. And so if there's anything like that ever comes up again, please let me know, and we will definitely get out there and address that, because we want to keep our kids safe and good. Now, with sports, there was definitely some very loose guidelines that were out there, but those have also been tightened up recently. So I think you're going to start seeing a much tighter mask wearing mandates. As a matter of fact, because we have now gone to this, you must wear a mask on campus. When we have a football game or a sporting event, you're going to, if you're a spectator, you're going to have to wear a mask. So please be prepared to do that. And again, we may not let you into the building or the stadium if you don't have a mask or refuse to wear a mask. And we may also delay or cancel a game if parents aren't, or spectators aren't following the mask mandate. So please make sure to let the kids play, make sure you're wearing your masks, keeping each other safe. Again, we want to make sure that they're getting a fair chance to play. Question about homework. With 6 subjects, if a kid's taking 6 subjects, how much time is reasonable for one teacher to assign a student on a daily basis? This is $1 million question. It's pretty hard to answer it because it really does depend on what grade level the kid's in, what level of course or type of course the student is having. Is this a college prep course, or is it an AP course? Is it an honors course, or is it, an upper division course versus a freshman course? So there are a lot of different expectations depending on it. So because we have a really wide variety of students who take a wide variety of courses, it's really hard for me to say expect this amount. But what we have done is we've created something called a homework calculation guide, and it can be found on our guidance page under their selection of course selections. Got to kind of scroll down for it, but if you get on there, it should give you some ideas of the different courses that we have and what's the average amount of homework that should be given. Now, again, some teachers give a little more, some give a little less, some kids are quicker, some kids are slower. So there's probably a little bit of margin of error in there, but if, let's say a class says, hey, you should have an hour of homework a night or every other night, and your kid is spending 3, 4, 5 hours on that particular piece of homework, that's too long. So you should contact the teacher and say, I think my kid needs some support or some understanding. Maybe sometimes it's just a retooling of what their expectation is and what they're asking the students to do. Sometimes students do more than we ask them to do. So again, contacting the teacher for help in those times is really good. Another thing we found is, kids are like most people. They will procrastinate until they do the last minute. So sometimes if you have a couple of big projects that are due right at the end, it might spend, or some big assignments, it might take you longer to get through it. Whereas if you were doing 10, 15, 20 minutes a night, you get through it much more easier. So again, helping kids organize or schedule their work is important. And that's a tool where Schoology can come in handy. You can also look along the kids' schedule and see what teachers have assigned and kind of help them say, oh, this looks like a big assignment. You might want to do that tonight and tomorrow night rather than wait one more night. So again, having those kinds of conversations can be important. But again, if your kid, bottom line, if your kid is spending long and inordinate amounts of time on classes, that would be a good question to call to the teacher. But also realize the older a student gets and the more high level the student gets, the bigger expectation there is for homework. So that is just one of those things to keep in mind. A question about, can we please tell parents not to park or even stop in the bike lane on Homestead Road? And absolutely, we've done that. We will continue to do that because it's illegal. Where you see those green lines in the bike lanes, that means bikes have the right of way. And so you are not to block those. Now, when the green in those lanes starts to get dotted or choppy, that means a car may have access to turn in there, but bikes still have the right of way. So like right in front of our horseshoe, it's green until right before it, and then it gets dotted. Again, even though it's dotted, cars can come through. Cars, you should be looking to make sure our own kids or even community members are not coming up behind you because they do have the right of way. So the idea is you stay outside of that lane, and then right before you get to the horseshoe where that lines get dotted, then you can come in so you're not blocking those lanes. So you never park in a bike lane. That is, again, highly illegal and very dangerous. And again, we have a lot of kids, not only our own kids, but kids from Cupertino Middle School, as well as community members who bike down. So just know there's a lot of traffic out there. So please, no matter what you do, keep an eye out, look around before you go, double check and make sure that the coast is clear. Question about Chromebooks. Seeing different models of Chromebooks on campus. Are there different ones that are out there? Why do some kids have different models than others? Quite simply, yeah, we've bought Chromebooks over the last several years, and so we have some that are brand new and some that are older, and so we have definitely handing out a variety of them. And so we did try it recently. The district bought each site 500 new Chromebooks. So we started with those, handed those out. And now that we've gotten through those, I think we've handed out close to 700 Chromebooks for the year. We're actually going back into our a little bit older, and then we kind of tend to keep them even older than those on stock for times where people need a day loaner, like, oh, my battery ran out, or I forgot my computer today. We might have little older ones there, and then every year we kind of keep replenishing. So we are trying to give the better ones out earlier, as well as for year long versus maybe the older ones. So that's why you're seeing a difference in them. There's no other rhyme or reason other than the first 500 people got the new devices, and after that you're getting the next newest devices and slightly older after that. That's all the questions we had today. So again, keep them coming. Lots of great stuff. Just some reminders about our important dates we got coming up starting next week and going for about 2 weeks. We have sales for the PSAT test. That's the practice SAT. So that, again, there's information on our website about kind of who takes it and why you should take it. So definitely take a look at that. That's again, a lot of our younger students tend to look at that. On September 3rd, there's a college information night for seniors for parents only. So that information is on our guidance page and in our bulletin. So please take a look for that. That'll be helpful to parents to understand what your seniors are going to be looking at in terms of selecting colleges. There's the Labor Day holiday coming up, so a 3-day weekend. Then right after that, we'll have our back to school night. It will be virtual, so you do not have to come to campus. You will be able to watch all of your students' teachers, and if you have multiple kids, you can watch all of them in the luxury of your own home. So we will probably start off with a live Zoom, which means somebody like me and some of the administrators might have some information and kick it off, which we will also record that and put that on the website. But if you want to kind of have a premiere, that'll be the premiere, and then you can watch the videos. And those will be posted on Teacher Schoology pages. The evening club fair is the 17th. We had the lunchtime club fair this week. It was a huge success. A lot of kids out there. This one will be in the evening. And just coming up already, the end of September is the end of the first grading period. Now, what that means is progress reports. It's not a permanent grade. It's not a final grade. It's just a snapshot in time of how your student's doing. But know that in, several weeks here, we're going to be saying, okay, this is what we're seeing from your student. And so making sure kids are turning in their work, making sure there's nothing missing, getting them to kind of pre-plan some of that and pre-advocate rather than wait for the grade to come out and then kind of freak out. But that's coming up here soon. And then also, just because it's a whole lot of fun, the homecoming is that week of October 11th. So again, thank you everybody for stopping by again today. Thank you for Nancy Navarro for being our guest star today. And we hope you enjoyed this, and please keep coming with the responses on the survey. You have a safe and wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.